What's up, HSM? My name is Courtnie. I'm the high school pastor here. I'm so excited to be sharing again with you this morning. It's weird to me that the month of March felt like, 400 years, and the month of April has gone by in approximately, 4 minutes or so. It's going to be May real soon, and a new month means a new series for us as a community, and I'm excited because last week Jordan talked about the dangerous space that we could land when we feel distant from God. And we start believing things that are just simply not true about Him. And what's wild to me is we don't actually have to settle for distance. We don't have to settle for disconnection. Even if we're not meeting in this room, we can be a people that choose to pursue connection. And that's what we hope to do by studying this new book together. In the month of May, we're going to be looking at the book of Proverbs intentionally because I think it has a timely word for this community that wants to continue growing in what we have already learned before this. This book asks questions like, hey, what is this world like? And what does it look like to not only survive in this world, but what if it would look like to thrive in God's creation? Basically, like, what does it look like to live a good life? And so I'm excited to jump in, and we'll start in chapter 1. Proverbs 1 says, the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel, for gaining wisdom and instruction, for understanding words of insight, for receiving instruction in prudent behavior, doing what is right and just and fair, for giving prudence to those who are simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. Let the wise listen and add to their learning. And let the discerning get guidance for understanding proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of all knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. And I really want you to pay attention to these last two verses. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. They are a garland to grace your head and a chain to adorn your neck. The first thought that I had is that we are supposed to be people who keep important words close. Keep important words close to you. Think about this. How many words do you actually read or hear in a day? How many words do you think that you'll probably come across in a lifetime? And in all of those words, how do you determine which of them are important? Which of them hold the most weight in your life right now? I'd be willing to bet that more likely than not, we are rating the significance of our words based on who they actually are coming from. On Instagram right now, there was this bingo squares that have been going around. I haven't paid much attention to any of them until I saw one that I related to, the one for the 90s kids. Shout out to all my people. Honestly, every single one of those squares I related to, and I will be bringing all of these things back. I'm reading Goosebumps. I'm going on the Oregon Trail. Can't nobody tell me nothing. I am baking brownies in the Easy Bake Oven. Watch out, Gordon Ramsay. It's my new calling. It's happening. The one that really did get my attention, though, was this square that said, folding notes into origami and passing them on to your friends in school. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but you used to have to pay to text people, like to receive and get a text message, and my parents weren't really about that. So we would send and pass notes in between classes. All of my best friends would send them to me, the guys that I liked, and they liked me. We would send notes to one another, and the more you liked someone, the more time you spent folding it. It was a skill, an art form. Like, what could you create with this lined piece of paper? It was amazing. I remember getting a heart-shaped one from a boy, and the moment I got it, I was like, I need to read and study every single word on this piece of paper because he's probably going to be the one and I'm going to marry him, and this is it for us. This is it. Plot twist, we didn't get married. It's okay. I'm fine. I don't even remember his name. I don't even remember so much what was written on those papers, but I do remember how I felt. I remembered wanting to know and study the words on those papers because the people that had given them to me were important to me. The words became important because I recognized that the person giving them to me were incredibly important, so I kept them close. The book of Proverbs tells us that these words written give us access to something that we know as wisdom. But the Hebrew word used here is chokmah. And chokmah it's more than just intellectual knowledge. It is an attribute of God that he's literally woven into his creation. So it's not a charge to keep these words close because we can be the smartest person in the room. No, it's a charge to keep these words close because they describe the God who has created all things, and they give us access to knowing him and knowing what he cares about more. And if God created all things, if he's the creator of the universe, he probably knows a thing or two about how to survive and thrive in his creation. So that's the first thought. Keep important words close. The second is very much related. Let those important words shape your habits and your patterns. The verses that follow in chapter 1 are filled with much caution and warning. And Proverbs is basically saying there are two types of people in this world. The first is a person that makes wise, good decisions, and they are tapping into Chokmah. And this alternative is the person who makes different types of decisions, and they are working against Chokmah. And the end of Proverbs tells us there are consequences to both. In verse 32, it says, "For the waywardness of the simple will kill them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm." Quarantine presents challenges. We know this. We've been living this. The distance allows these unwelcome features like isolation and fear, loneliness, and boredom. And the problem with those things is that is just breeding ground for us to develop these unhealthy habits. Addiction, numbing our emotions and our pain with substances, whatever that might look like. For some of us, it's just this deep apathy. You may not have gotten out of bed in the past 3 days. We begin believing the lie that our lives don't actually matter and they may not ever again until we're out of quarantine. As we are adapting and adjusting and trying to determine a new routine or a new pattern, like when you wake up, how are you going to take care of yourself? Are you going to shower today or 3 days from now? Like when you're trying to figure out those things, you should be paying attention to what patterns you may have started that you might need to stop because they're not actually building into your life. But I also want you to consider what are some patterns that you need to start up that would actually build into your life based on the wisdom that we're finding from God himself. Someone once told me that what you focus on becomes your focus. So we could focus on all the negative and all of the bad, but this season actually gives us opportunity to focus on something different. What if we were people that actually focused on the wisdom that builds lives lived well together? What if we were people that actually focused on the God who remains the source of all of this together? Because I think that if we shift our focus onto something like that, something wild would happen. We wouldn't necessarily just settle for the lie that God has left us or abandoned us. We wouldn't settle for the lie that God actually just wants to give us instruction to control our lives. No, we would see a God who is gracious and wants to confirm just how much he actually loves us. He loves us enough to explain how the world functions and gives us access to knowing how to function in it well. So this month, as we look in the book of Proverbs, I am challenging you. Make it a habit to plug in. Make it a habit to plug in, and let's pursue this together.